At some point in our lives, many of us have dreamed, half jokingly, half seriously, of something that sounds both ridiculous and oddly real. The idea that someone would just take care of us, that we wouldn't have to do anything at all, and yet still have enough money to live. It seems like a naive dream, but in today's high-pressure, fast-paced world, it's a wish more common than most would admit. We're tired of having to keep it all together, tired of pretending we're okay, tired of constantly pushing forward. So the idea of a life where we don't have to try so hard and still have enough is incredibly tempting. But what if I told you that dream actually came true? Somewhere, for someone. That there were places and people who lived in exactly that condition, where daily survival wasn't a struggle and basic needs were effortlessly met. Sounds ideal, doesn't it? But here's the bigger question. Is that kind of life really worth dreaming about? The story you're about to read might make you rethink your own life through a completely different lens. Tyler was once a young man full of hope. He graduated college with decent grades, landed a stable job with okay pay, and had a small circle of close friends spread across the country. But one day, he woke up with a strange emptiness he couldn't quite name. There wasn't any clear reason for his fatigue or lack of motivation, but every day felt like someone had pressed the slow-motion button on his life. Everything seemed difficult. Every industry felt competitive. Everywhere he turned, he heard words like crisis, uncertainty, or you should pivot. He started to wonder, did I take a wrong turn somewhere? Why does everything feel so hard? One late afternoon, when he couldn't bear the quiet pressure anymore, Tyler got in his car and drove out of town, heading toward the countryside to visit his grandfather, a man who lived simply, spoke little, and somehow always seemed to understand things without ever needing to explain himself. When Tyler sat down on the old porch, his grandfather just smiled and handed him a warm cup of tea. "You look tired from life itself," the old man said gently. "I don't know, Grandpa," Tyler sighed. "I've been trying, but everything feels heavy, like no matter what I do, I'm not really moving forward." His grandfather didn't answer right away. He gazed out across the fields where the setting sun was slowly washing the trees in shades of orange. "Have you ever heard about the Aboriginal people in Australia?" he asked. Tyler shook his head. His grandfather took a slow sip of tea, then began. The story of the Aboriginal people. The Aboriginal people of Australia are one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth. Half a world away from us, they've lived on that land for over 50,000 years. They had no industrialization, no cities, no modern conveniences. They lived in harsh environments, scorching sun, dry soil, wild predators. Every single day was a fight for survival. There were no supermarkets, no running water. They had to hunt, gather, build shelter, and protect their communities on their own. It was these hardships that shaped them into some of the most resilient people on the planet. They understood nature, understood their bodies, and understood each other through silence and observation. Their culture wasn't built from comfort, it was forged in hardship. Children grew up in exhaustion, not the kind from too much homework, but from hunger, from walking miles under the sun, from facing real dangers. But that very exhaustion helped them grow up fast. It taught them discipline, survival skills, and a deep understanding of what it meant to belong to a community. Then one day, the British came. They claimed the land, redrew borders, built houses and prisons, and imposed laws no one there understood. Even Aboriginal children were taken from their families. History now calls it the stolen generations. Years later, the Australian government tried to make amends. They gave financial aid, built homes, offered free education and health care. An entire people who once had to fight for every meal now didn't have to worry about survival. The grandfather paused and looked Tyler in the eye. "And do you know what happened next?" Tyler shook his head again, his gaze dropping to his grandfather's weathered hands. "They began to lose their sense of purpose," the old man said quietly. "Not because they were poor, but because they no longer had anything to strive for. You'd think with all that support, life would get better. And for some, it did. But many fell into alcohol, drugs, and violence. Not all of them, but enough. The government kept pouring money in, but the more they gave, the less people felt the need to try. And when you no longer have to try, you also stop waking up with a reason to live." This is one of the most painful paradoxes of modern life. When people finally have everything they once lacked, they often lose the very thing that gave their life meaning. Tyler stayed silent for a long time. He had never thought about it that way. In the world he lived in, everyone was chasing comfort, stability, ease. But very few realized this truth. Comfort, when stretched out too long and stripped of challenge, slowly erodes your motivation to live. When all your needs are easily met, life becomes smooth, but also strangely empty. I always thought being tired was something to avoid, Tyler whispered. His grandfather slowly shook his head. No, Tyler, that exhaustion, those challenges, that's what makes you feel alive. And he was right. We don't grow during easy days. We grow when we're exhausted but still choose to keep going. We don't find ourselves when everything's fine. We find ourselves when we feel lost, and we're forced to confront the truth, the fear, and the limits within us. Tyler looked out across the field, where the last rays of sunlight were still trying to hold on, and for the first time in months, he felt something stir inside. It wasn't joy. It wasn't a sudden burst of motivation. It was something calmer, a quiet peace with reality, a soft realization. So, this is what life really is. Let it be hard, let it be tiring, but every time you move forward, you move closer to who you really are. The story of the Aboriginal people isn't just a tragic piece of history. It's a powerful reminder that struggle is the raw material of growth. When everything is handed to you, you lose the chance to prove your own worth. And when you lose that chance, you slowly lose yourself. This story isn't just about one people. It reflects a pattern that's repeating across many layers of modern society, losing meaning in the very abundance we once longed for. Tyler, like millions of young people, was going through something similar. They don't feel lost because of a lack of opportunity, but because they can't see a reason to keep going. They live in a world where the pain of depression no longer comes from hunger, but from oversaturation. When you have everything, there's nothing left to want. And when there's nothing left to want, you go numb to your own life. In trying to avoid exhaustion, modern people have fallen into something far worse: emptiness. Because rest means nothing if it's not earned. Just like food doesn't taste good unless you've been hungry, sleep isn't deep unless you've been tired, and peace doesn't feel real unless you've been through a battle. We weren't born to avoid hardship. We were born to overcome it. And it's in that overcoming that we truly feel alive. No one remembers the easy days, but we never forget the days we almost broke and kept going. So if you're feeling tired, lost, or unmotivated, don't be so quick to assume you've failed. Maybe you're exactly where you need to be. Maybe you're not broken. You're just standing at the very place a person must pass through to become stronger. Be grateful for the days that feel heavy, because it's in those days that life is handing you the chance to see who you really are. Not everyone is born strong, but anyone who chooses to keep going, even in exhaustion, is growing. That person is alive. I hope you found this story helpful. If you enjoyed today's story, be sure to hit the like button. It might seem like a small thing, but because of how the YouTube algorithm works, videos with more likes tend to get shown to more people. So your like really helps this video reach others who might need it too. And if you find my content valuable, consider subscribing. It really helps more people discover it. Thanks for watching, and I wish you and your family good health and peace. See you in the next story.